Hello again. In this video I'd like to demonstrate another big feature which is coming in new version 5.3, and this feature is about vendor hiring process. We tried to implement a number of functionalities which allows to simplify this process, make it more transparent, easier. Since it's first iteration of this functionality, of course it will be developed and improved in future, but let me demonstrate you how it looks now. Demonstration will be pretty long, I suppose. A lot of screen sections will be demonstrated, so let's start. First of all, let's open navigation menu, collapse workspace, expand reference data, and find new item which was added in this new version. It's named test pieces. This table allows to create a number of any number of test pieces which you can offer or can not offer to your vendors, to newly registered vendors, and to existing vendors as well. Let me open some example test like this. So when you create a test, you can specify its name, language pair, specialization. This checkbox offered to new vendors allows to automatically offer this test piece to vendors when they log on to the vendor portal. Otherwise, if this checkbox not checked, this means that you can only offer this test piece only manually to selected vendors. Internal notes, instructions for vendors, they will see this, source text, and proofreader's table. This table allows to pre-select desired proofreaders who you'd like to use for checking test pieces submitted by vendors. And when you add a new proofreader to this table, you can specify select vendor, of course, and specify if review will be paid or not. If review is paid, then when you submit or send submitted test piece to proofreader, then translation assignment will be created. Application will automatically calculate number of target words in submitted test piece and estimate amount for this review. If this checkbox is not checked, then simple email message will be created for a proofreader, and you will just send a text with some reference number to proofreader, and then when proofreader sends review results, you will just enter it into submitted test piece and inform vendor about results. Okay, so this is how test pieces are created. Then if I will open vendor list, it's already filtered, and open vendor, then and let's open this Russian vendor which I will be using for this demo. And here there is additional setting named do not offer tests. So for each vendor you can check this box, and when this vendor uses vendor portal, even if tests are configured to automatically be offered to vendors, if this option is enabled for a particular vendor, application won't offer any tests automatically to that vendor. Then if I will switch to test pieces tab, here we can manually assign tests to vendors. Something is already created here. Let me say delete it and click new button and specify test piece from database which we already created. Few say let's let it be test in IT specialization. Some reference number was automatically assigned, and it will help us to differentiate this particular vendor's test piece when we send and receive messages. So it will be easier to find later when we will have a lot of tests in database. Date added, date submitted, it will be automatically populated later, status, additional instructions, and source text. When I selected test piece here, source text was loaded automatically to this field. But if, for example, we want to correct it, but do not correct this test piece in general, then it is allowed to do here. And later we can assign some score for this test using scale from 0 to 10, and some comments if we would like to comment something about results of the test. When we are ready, I click OK, and test will be added to this table. Now I can click, it is not happening automatically, I can click send mail message to inform my vendor that he was assigned with a new test piece, and then click send. Okay, wait a few seconds to get confirmation that mail was sent. Alright, and then I switch to inbox of this vendor, and I can see that new test piece was assigned to me. Okay, let's delete it, and let's go to another browser and log in as this vendor. When I click login button, you can see that this dialog appears. New test pieces are available for you to pass, and this list contains tests which correspond to vendor language pair and supported specializations, and these tests will be offered to a vendor only if they were not offered before, or if you can see that IT test does not exist here because it was already added to vendor's profile. And now if I don't want to accept any of offered tests, or say I can accept only one, and click OK, then next time when this vendor will log on, application won't offer any tests to this vendor, and just log on will be redirected directly into dashboard. You can see this, and on vendor's dashboard there is a new widget, ongoing tests, and you can see here that we have two tests, one which was assigned manually by me, by manager, and the second one which I just accepted during logon. Here vendor can click on add test to view its details, to see source text, and to provide target text. Then when I'm ready, I hit save and close, and if I'm sure that test is ready, then I can click finish. OK. Status changes to submitted by vendor, and now when I try to edit it, I cannot do this anymore because it's already submitted. Additionally, vendor can manually add tests if, for example, I previously declined an offer to pass the test, but want to do this later. I can still return to available list of tests by clicking this button, add new test. So vendor has a choice from these two tests which I previously declined, and I can select one of those and add to my profile and pass them as well. So since I have submitted test, let me again switch to mailbox, and manager receives translated text from vendor. All right, so I can return back to my, and here I've got notification right inside application that vendor submitted this test. So next, let me refresh maybe this page, and I can see that this vendor has two tests. One of those is submitted. To find tests which are submitted by vendors but still not processed, it is not, of course, useful to open profile of each vendor and switch to test pieces tab and check if there is something unreviewed, still unchecked. I can go to vendor list, and there is a button here, view list of test pieces assigned to vendors. I can click it and I will go to another table which will contain all test pieces assigned to all vendors in the application, and here I can use default functionality to filter tests and to search it by, for example, by reference number, like let me enter 2. Okay, it doesn't work because there is already one test piece. Alright, so here I can find a test piece from Sergey Ivanov, which was already submitted. And here, what can I do with this? You can see that there is another green test piece. This means that it already has some score. So if score is greater than 7, then test piece will be highlighted with green color, and there will be other colors for lower scores. All right, so now the next task is to send test piece to Proofreader. And when I select some test piece, this button changes. So, and if I hover mouse here, it contains a selection, and this selection will include all proofreaders which we pre-selected for specific test piece, and default option empty recipient if we still don't know whom we want to send this test piece for review. So now we have Sergey Ivanov for checking test piece of tests submitted by Sergey Ivanov. Well, and we have marked that this vendor will be doing paid review. So if I click this button, a new translation assignment will be created for this vendor, and you can see that quantity is 2 words and amount was automatically calculated. So and mail message was already created automatically, and if I will switch to files, purchase order was also generated, so I can just send the message from here to our reviewer, then switch to my email account, and you can see that new test for proofreading with reference number, and please check this, and PO was attached. Okay, then when reviewer sends results back, we go to our test piece, find it by reference number, open it, and say we can provide some score. Just for demonstration, I can specify low score and describe mistakes here in comments. Then I save it, and you can see that it has red color. What's next? Next I can mark this test piece as reviewed and send results to our vendor. So I click this button, test piece will be marked as finished, and Business Manager will send a message with results to vendor. This message is customizable and you can find it under reference data, message templates. Okay, so message was sent, status was changed to finished, and the vendor gets test results. You've got results for previously submitted test piece, so here is a message describing what happened. All right, next, if I will go to profile of our vendor and switch to language list, and here you will find that there is a new column was added here named approved. It displays how many tests were approved in particular language pair supported by vendor, and the same in specializations. Also, each specialization could be approved or not. And if I will switch to test piece and say vendor submitted beta test for second piece, and say we've got great results, score was 10. Okay, and when I click save, now if I will switch to language list, you can see that this language pair, English Russian, got one approved test piece. The same about specialization. I go to specialization and we've got one approved specialization. And now when we will be creating translation assignments for this specialization, let me say remove Sergey Ivanov from this assignment, and then select here, I suppose, this technical machine manuals, save. And now when I will open this drop-down list for selecting a vendor, then near this name, Sergey Ivanov, you will see two icons. This vendor has one approvals in this language pair and one approvals in this specialization. So approved vendors have better appearance in the vendor selection lists. So and maybe one more feature to mention here in this video. Let us go to vendor list again, open our vendor and find employment status field here. If to return it back to approval and click save button, then you will see confirmation dialog. This vendor isn't marked as employed but has one or multiple tests with score higher than 6. Would you like to mark it as employed? And when you click yes, on approval changes to employed, and this vendor will be recommended, or this vendor will appear in translation assignments when during selection, because vendors with on approval status do not appear in vendor combo box in translation assignments. So actually that's all that I wanted to mention. If we will go to mail sender and open some mail message, then you will see that all the necessary variables needed for working with test pieces were also added to a email system. And if you go to mail merge and insert variable and try to search by test, then you can find a number of variables available for test pieces. So that also was processed. And actually that's all. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video as always, and it wasn't so slow as previous ones. So see you next time. Bye.